Celtic Ligers, Celtic Ligers, Celtic Ligers, Celtic Ligers, Celtic.
Hello and welcome to Celtic
Lager, the new and improved Celtic Ligers.
Yeah, and it's the non-fash Celtic Ligers.
Yeah, it's improved because Gareth is no longer going to be saying or doing anything.
Oh yeah, we've got a great listener request, and a free, just a purveyor of the free episodes, not an actual person who pays for the privilege of hearing us.
And what's this? Which one's this?
This is a free one.
So Rob Gale,
yeah,
you're officially on blast.
Yeah. Do I have to edit out Rob Gale's name there?
No, he'll like it.
Okay. Well, Rob Gale, here's what he suggested. Give us what he suggested there.
Okay. So initially he said stop eating on mic, which is fair. I'll give him that. I'll give him that as bad form to eat on mic.
I think that's infringing on your rights, your liberties.
Yeah.
Did he not see the logo of this podcast? We really believe in personal freedoms, you know?
Yeah. I have a right to go unmolested while eating minstrels.
This is an anti-mask podcast.
Yeah.
If that hasn't been clear.
It legitimately is. Like, you're anti-mask.
I mean, I'm like Stephanie Preisner. It's not good for my brand to say that I'm anti-mask, but don't get me to say a positive word about them because you just won't hear it. I just won't do it.
I'm anti-Basque.
You're anti-Basque?
Yes. I think they had it too good for too long.
Okay. But what's the next thing that Rob has said?
Then he said, I have one or two more tweaks to make. And what I said is, send them to me and I'll send them on to Gareth. You know? I don't want him to get overwhelmed. And then he said, well, none of them are about Gareth or about anything technical at all.
Okay.
So I was like, so it's me is really the issue. And then he said,
glad somebody's finally saying it.
So then he said, maybe Gareth should introduce the show. And then he's like, now we'll start with whatever the first segment is or whatever. Then he talks, I'm going to do this like you know when people read Trump's tweets to make them sound insane? Yeah. Maybe Gareth should introduce the show, and then he says and now we'll start with ... whatever the first segment is or whatever. Then he talks about that. You chime in with MMHM now and again. Then same with the next segment at the end. Gareth with his professional sounding voice, that's a lie, does a closer
it is a little bit like some people have said that and I don't buy it at all.
Yeah, I don't buy it either. Thanks for listening. You. Send $50 to notes to my mom, Gaff, and whatnot.
Okay.
But we hear you laughing and saying things like, yeah, that's right, and I know, absolutely, now and again.
Yeah.
And then every second episode you should take a minute to apologize for eating on mic.
Yeah, and you would need to do it every episode, wouldn't you? Because you do it that often.
Well, he says every second episode.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm not doing it on
this. Well, then
this.
he's already wrong.
So, thanks, Rob, for the feedback.
Yeah.
Can you emit like
this?
A high-pitched screeching noise to deafen Rob so we can't listen to this anymore?
I'm going to put on one of those mosquito alarms, but it's just targeted directly at him. So just, out of interest, no ulterior motives. What age are you, Rob? Send that in to the I'll calibrate an audio sound to make it more pleasant.
Yeah.
Can't
Send in a
winking.
cochlear scan to CelticLigers@gmail.com and Gareth will get right on that.
The funny thing is, while you were doing that, your phone seems to have gone off in the microphone and been made that type of sound. Yeah. So that's good.
That one's for you, Rob.
No, I do appreciate the feedback. Especially when it's saying that I'm great. I like that a lot.
No, you misunderstood.
I do love though that I don't know how serious he is. Maybe he's messing, but like the idea of having like an intro, to just be like, hello, here is the podcast, here's what happens. It was like, you expect already far too much from our podcast, because we have like a sheet of things that have things written on them, but ultimately it's a free-for-all, and there isn't a plan, and every episode starts.
No.
And on top of that, we're like one of those cool American podcasts who are done by like The Nerdist, who were hosted by that guy who not sexually assaulted. I think he just physically abused his then girlfriend.
You don't know the guy became trans to like avoid the
Did he go trans?
You ever read about that guy?
No, I'm talking about Chris Hardwick.
I don't know that guy. Oh yeah, that guy.
Chris Hardwick. Yeah, Chris Hardwick presents like Talking Dead or whatever.
Yeah.
And he like abused his ex-girlfriend, and then
did he abuse her? Was that the one where he was like, he was annoyed at me?
What do you mean?
Like, there was one and it was like, it really did not seem like abuse, And that's not talking down abuse. It was just like, it didn't work.
No.
This was bad, was it?
Well, I can't remember her exact claims, but I know that I was like, oh, that's awful. So
okay.
it wasn't like there was a guy, a congressman in San Francisco. He's not Congress yet. He's trying to be a congressman. He's trying to unseat Nancy Pelosi.
Oh yeah.
His name's Shahid Buttar, and
that guy.
He was accused
he touched a woman, wasn't that it?
He rubbed up against a woman at a party. Not like intentionally. He was like passing by to get into the kitchen.
Yeah, but then didn't like loads of people quit and like come out against him and all this sort of stuff?
Yeah, they came out against him, but they came out largely against him because they thought he was running the campaign improperly. And then they tried to suggest a bunch of kind of things that he did as being sus, which when you kind of break them down weren't actually that sus at all.
Right.
No, I wasn't. I just want to make this clear. Like, it wasn't that I don't believe. What happened was he... so she says to him, anyway, sorry, yeah, he's at a party, he brushes up against her when he's going from one room into another. And then another time she said she had been celibate for like 3 or 4 years or something. And he was like, Jesus Christ, I couldn't do that. And she was like, I thought that was very insensitive, for my needs and my whatever. And then he was confronted by his campaign, the people on his campaign being like, you need to watch your behavior. And he was like, he started doing like seminars and stuff, not seminars, but like they started kind of doing like group sessions to try and address what they were saying was problematic behavior of his. Okay. And he was embracing of these. He was like, all right, I want to solve this. So let's sit down and figure this shit out, And so they started working about it. And one of the things that his campaign manager had written was, so there was somebody who was involved in his campaign, and she said she left it because Shahid is not who you think he is. He's actually like, he's kind of like a bit of a horn dog, but also his tactics are flawed. She said he was incredibly lazy and that he didn't want to work, and he didn't see the point in going to these areas, you know what I mean, to rustle up these people. And he was more interested on going on like leftist podcast that had a very small platform than to actually, talk to voters on the ground. And that they were kind of suggesting that he was more interested in the clout of it. And one of the reasons was, it was like, what do you want to get out of this campaign? And he wrote, I want to follow a Bernie Sanders style campaign and push the agenda further left, and to kind of push the party left, And this woman was like, I was so upset to hear that he hadn't written, I want to win, because that's the most important thing. And it's like, well, no, it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like he's going up against an incredibly popular incumbent candidate.
I mean, it might be for someone, but it's not wrong.
But to finish off that Shahid Buttar point, he went on Useful Idiots, and he went on, I don't know if it was the Intercepted podcast or if it was Deconstructed. It was one of these podcasts, and he went on 2 podcasts and just broke down. He was incredibly hurt by all of the allegations against him, and obviously, I mean, he would be. But he said, we just had very different ideas about how the campaign should be run. And to be honest, like, the fact that I had heard of Shahid Buttar was in large part because of the podcast he decided to go on, Yeah. And I don't know how much of that has coverage, in the fucking, but Useful Idiots is a Rolling Stone podcast. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I'm just saying that they had different approaches, and they were going, oh, his approach is completely wrong, and he's ignoring on the ground.
Yeah.
But the momentum behind his campaign and the donations that were coming into it as a result of him appearing on these platforms is kind of undebatable.
It just sounds like they had different priorities.
Yeah, but then they used it to kind of low key go after him. One of the things they said was they kind of said they implied he was like a horn dog, and that he was trying to get his campaign aides to organize his person. They called it organizing his sex life.
Right.
And he said, it's organizing my personal life. You know what I mean? And one of the things that they did was he's like, well, that's kind of what an assistant or an aide is meant to be helping me with, because I have a lot of shit to juggle. Do you know what I mean? And and one of the things that he had as well was he's in a polyamorous relationship, which isn't something that he was too keen to mention on the campaign trail, because he wasn't sure how people would react to it. It's not like he would deny it, but he definitely didn't want to play it up. But because of the allegations that were made against him, they were kind of making it seem like he was, they were organizing his sex life, or that he was trying to, get, basically that he was trying to get partners or additional people, or making it sound like he was some sort of fucking sex pest. When actually what they were doing is they were just he just has a lot of partners.
How many did he
he's
have?
got 2 or 3. I think he's got 2 or 3 partners.
What's his name?
Shahid Buttar. But whatever about it, it just was kind of he just thought he brought it up. He was very hurt by that, because they brought this up as a way to kind of discredit him and make him seem like a creep or a weirdo,
Yeah.
And he was kind of shouldn't that be the exact opposite of the campaign that you're saying that we should be trying to create,
Yeah.
Now I'm really going to bat for him a little too much, just because I really hate Nancy Pelosi, and I think that he's actually a very good candidate. And I also don't think that being lazy means that he is you could say there are so many people who are in Congress already who are exceptionally lazy. Do you know what I mean? But and it is annoying to have people like Nancy Pelosi who can kind of get away with all of this kind of level of corruption, and it's not like abusing their staff, because I don't think that she's aggressive towards her staff, but you could see her making demands that would be similar to her own staff and not having it be a weird thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead, with Shahid Buttar, he has to engage in I just feel like you did this to me and we need to talk about it. And it's I hear what you're saying, I understand, and I want to reciprocate and respond. And it's just fuck, man, I just wish they didn't have to engage in this bullshit. The who I perceive to be the good guys didn't have to be engaging in this.
Maybe he's hired the worst people. The people who are way too into their feeling. Maybe those.
Well, he's in San Francisco, and he's part of the DSA, so of course, those are the people that he's choosing.
Yeah, that was his first mistake.
Yeah. But anyhow, it's annoying because they really kind of hobbled his campaign, and once the dust kind of settled on it, it wasn't like the Biden level accusations. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there was people like Nathan J. Robinson who was well, if we believe Tara Reid, we have to believe these accusers and stuff. And it wasn't like I didn't believe them. It was just I heard the things and I was that kind of sounds like a you problem rather than a him problem. Do you know?
Yeah. So you sided with a guy who dresses like a plantation owner from
No,
Missouri.
I didn't. Nathan J. Robinson had the other. He was no, we have to believe all of his accusers, and he was I'm as annoyed as you are, but we have to throw this guy in the bin because fuck him for walking through a party and brushing up against this lady. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's he is I imagine he's a fucking creep, but I just, there has to be a point where it's is it you're looking at Nancy Pelosi and it's this is actually dismantling, just providing no opposition, rolling over for Trump and any kind of thing that means that the planet survives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of
it's just I don't know. I haven't heard all that much, but
yeah.
like he hired these people. Generally, if you work for somebody, you've some. Generally, with these things, people don't just like work for you for the money. Normally, they're aligned with you ideologically in some way.
Yeah.
And then for those people to turn on him or like to accuse him, it just doesn't seem so.
Well, I don't think they were like his. Yeah, they weren't like his friends or anything. He had hired them for the campaign.
But generally, if you hire someone for a campaign, they are somewhat aligned with you. Like, it's sort of the fact that they did turn on someone they had aligned themselves with is not a good.
Yeah, I guess I just, after listening to them and hearing their kind of concerns, I think that their priorities and threshold would certainly be a fucking lot lower than what I would.
You think they're crazy? Okay, that's fine.
I don't think they're crazy. I just think. I think that they're just
BPD. Fine, just
I think
say
that
it.
they're super sensitive. Like all you do is look at that DSA thing where it's like, please don't use guys, don't use gendered word, and like, please stop being so loud and talking while other people are up here. It's just like, come on, man. Like, you know, you recognize that maybe you're in a minority on some of these things, and like, take the fucking L. Do you know what I mean? So
let
that
me ask you some
you can have a candidate running. You know?
Do you think that they exhibit rage? Do you think they were annoyed?
No,
you don't think they were annoyed?
No, they were annoyed.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry,
So
they exhibit rage.
Do you think they were sad?
Well, they said they were disappointed.
Yeah, that sounds a bit like sorrow. Shame?
Yeah, because they're ashamed of
working with him. And they're also ashamed
of ringing up any of his partners, and like they're ashamed that they are, you know, helping him have sex in any way, shape, or form. So they're ashamed of sex.
Okay, that's fine.
You know?
That's normal. That's actually a symptom of being mentally healthy.
That's actually in the pros column. Yeah.
Anyway. No.
Yep.
You have your side, I have mine. I think it's interesting who we aligned ourselves with.
Yeah. Me with the good guys, you with the bad guys. I do think it's interesting.
I sided with the 95-year-old woman who hates ethnic minorities and other women.
Yeah. Who thinks
that it's a slam to call the president Mr. What was it, doo-doo in chief or something?
I don't know. She ripped up his speech. That was the one I remember.
Yeah, but no, she called him like she called him Dangerous Donald, and then she was like, "Now it's time to call him Mr. Doo-doo in chief." Like it was literally something not fucking juvenile. Let me get it up here.
Well, the thing is, like, Shahid Buttar was like well on his way to even fucking debating Nancy Pelosi. I don't know what the state is with that anymore, but she hasn't debated a primary challenger in 30 years.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. Do you know what I mean?
He said that Donald Trump was like a child with doggy doo on his shoes.
Oh my God.
Do you think your guy can bring that sort of heat?
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. President, sir, I will definitely put dignity on the office by addressing you thusly, but you, sir, are a doo-doo head.
Yeah.
Respect the office, not the man. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
But what was it? What did she do as well? Oh yeah, I was just remembering. Yeah, good morning, Sunday morning.
Good doo-doo.
Yeah. Good duty, Sunday duty.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was really pointless digression, and I want to get back. The reason I mentioned that at all is because Chris Hardwick, on the Nerdist podcast, he I think he stepped down from the Nerdist podcast following those allegations, and then they put him on hiatus from Talking Dead, but then he discredited the woman who made the allegations against him, and in no small part because his wife is one of the heiresses to the Hearsts. You know,
the Hearst?
The Hearsts are a family that owned like pretty much all of the newspapers in the US at one point.
Really?
So they still have a lot of their, you know,
ChrisHardwickWife.com. Lydia Hearst.
They can pretty much like, you know, get a news story quashed, and they just made her look like this kind of bitter ex who kind of, oh, why didn't she come forward sooner if she had been choked by him and he had made sure that her diet was, so that she didn't go over a certain weight, and made it so that she didn't meet up with friends when they asked her to come out, etc. It's like, I wonder, you know.
But
so anyway,
was it?
That's what
now
I'm gonna.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to separate the artist from the artist there. When I go back and rewatch Talking Dead, and will I be able to enjoy them anymore? Like, is that great man been ruined, brought down by a meddling woman, just like Woody Allen?
Yes. The Woody Allen thing kind of baffles me because, but the Nerdist podcast had conversational starts. That was the whole point to bring that up. But the Woody Allen thing bothers me because so fuck you, Rob Gale. Just kidding. But the Woody Allen thing always bothered me because, like you say, you're kind of implying there, I never thought that his work was worth preserving.
Really? I never liked him, but I could see why people liked it.
I never liked it at all, and I mean...
Well, that's your latent anti-Semitism coming out.
Well, why do I love Seinfeld then? Check and mate.
You all don't have time for that conversation.
Yous all don't. That was the other thing. I just saw a comment online.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see? You responded to the Celtic Ligers account.
And you were like,
but somebody was basically.
You used the word "yizer."
I did it as a joke because, you
traitor. You always pretend to to hate Dublin, and there you are, doing Dublin blackface essentially.
Well, what I was doing is James face because
no, I don't say yizer.
As far as people consider. That Twitter is operated by you. So when I respond to that, they know that it's a Dubliner who's saying it. So what I'm doing is I'm like doing a Rachel Dolezal, except I'm pretending to be James Moran.
Yeah.
And people are like, there has been times where you haven't been James Moran, and I was like, no comment. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. Okay. Well. And I don't think I'm the sort of Dubliner who uses the word user. Just so you know.
No, you wouldn't. But that's because you're culturally appropriating Dublin. So I was doing I was culturally appropriating you while you were culturally appropriating that part of Dublin culture.
Which is something I would never do. I do blackface.
One thing
but not that sort of thing.
But to add context is that, there's somebody who's going, y'all aren't ready to have this conversation, but something about the Green Party, I can't remember what the context of the post was, but somebody was like...
Party.
The Screen Party. The Green Party, aka the Scream Party... or something whatever, but it was like somebody was saying, can we stop using the word y'all like when we're fucking Irish? And I completely wholeheartedly agree, and it's kind of a continuation of what we've been talking about on the podcast before, which we're guilty of as well, which is that we're almost getting like our marching orders from the US and then just using that exact same language to describe all of the stuff that's happening here. But y'all aren't ready to
I'm learning
have that
Latin
conversation.
using an American textbook. And when it wants to write the you plural, it uses y'all. But it'll be like, y'all are talking to the centurion while he's carrying a writing tablet.
Yeah.
Or it'll be like, y'all sailors were navigating to Rome from the stars.
It's like, hey, Nero, you're cancelled. You're basic.
That's it.
Y'all seeing this?
Y'all seeing this, Nero? The city's burning.
Yeah. And he's fiddling. He's
freaking playing the fiddle.
Which is actually
Go on.
ableist.
Yeah, probably. Could be. Maybe.
As the only one. Do you know, you're just like, think of something else. Think of something else. And then it's just in your head. Say
just
it.
Just say the thing.
This is the only word you're
he's
getting.
He's ableist,
you know?
and because someone's deaf and they can't hear it or something. They're blind, maybe they can't see the fire. No one told them.
Maybe somebody who's burning in the fire wishes that they could play the violin, and actually it's ableist to mock them playing the while you're playing the violin.
He's like the Ray Charles of ancient Rome, going blind, and then his 13-year-old concubine boy is like, just put your hands on the fiddle and remember where the strings are, And he's like,
I just trying to remember. Yeah.
He's like, I remember. And then he just plays. And then, coincidentally, oh yeah, you know the way Ray Charles held on to women's arms, see if they're fat? He's like holding on to buildings to see if they're burning.
Yeah.
He's like, nope, not this one. Anyway, back to my fiddle. And then he goes, but you're like ready for that one. Ask your kids about this one. And then he plays, it's still like an ancient
Johnny
Roman.
Be Good.
No, it's like an ancient Roman song, but it's from like 350 BC as opposed to 400 BC. You know? So it's still from the future, but we wouldn't, you know, it's still... He's like...
I was imagining Marty McFly going back and like fiddling like Johnny Be Good, and then somebody was like... takes out like whatever they had back then. They get like a relay runner or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, the one where they go like,
he's just like
it's your cousin,
humming the song.
Marvin Nero.
Yeah.
You know,
it's me, Bobby De Niro, Bobby. And then he's just running and like humming the tune.
Yeah.
And then he goes, Bobby be good, and then falls down dead.
Yeah.
Just like what happened at the time.
Yeah, it's perfect. This is great. This makes total sense, and I'm really glad we went off on this tangent, you know.
Speaking of tangents, did you see the video that Sock Dams put up?
No, you were telling me about it, and I'd like to hear more.
Because it seems completely tangential to a good post and a good point.
I thought you were saying it was tangent insofar as I'm going to go on another tangent, so here it is.
No, I meant it in the way that it's tangential to a good post, like I said.
Okay. Yep. Sorry about that.
So,
apologies.
Next time I make a joke, don't change it. Don't twist it.
Don't get it twisted, okay?
Yeah. But it was talking about the ceiling of the
oh, no way.
the mother and baby homes. You know that thing, the records?
Yeah. Hello there, this is Gareth Lyons from the future. If you hear a whirring in the background, it's from my PS4, a stupid purchase. I'm just nipping in now because we go on to talk about the mother and baby homes, which, as you can hear from James's introduction, was kind of, you know, something we weren't entirely knowledgeable about at the time. So this is just a warning to say that it's an incredibly uninformed talk, and we have definitely more to say about it this time. I listened to it. I was tempted to remove it because I thought, fuck it, we'll have more stuff to say about it next week, and James's opinion on the clip will certainly have changed or modified slightly. But actually most of the points I kind of was like, well, no, that's not too far off what I think now. I'm just more informed about the information. Long story short, the government suck, the Greens suck, and the seal is bullshit, and it's fucking bullshit that it happened. So we'll talk about that next week, like I say, but just keep that in mind when listening to this, because it's pretty... I hadn't watched the clip, so after I saw the clip that he's referring to, I don't know if I would agree with him, really. But yeah, sure, we'll talk about it next week. So, I don't know. Keep that in mind.
And they were like, they put up this post, and they were like, we will never stop talking about this. And it has this argument that's going on between Gary Gannon and two other Sock Dam TDs, and then Micheál Martin. And Micheál Martin is talking for like 90% of it, and he's just completely rebutting all their points. Because they're like,
right,
why are you sealing these? No one is ever going to be able to see them. It doesn't help anybody. And then they also accuse him of like, they're like, oh, it's clear whose side you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's just like, well, they're sealed in so much as that not everybody can get them, but if you're involved in this case, you can access them, so it's not cutting anybody off. And then
it is, though, isn't it? Because they can't share it publicly. That it should be public.
But like, why? I mean, like, if you're doing a case and you have access to the things, isn't that all that's pertinent? And then what that stops is it allows you privacy over the matter.
Yeah, but they don't want privacy. They want people to be talking about it and the parties to be held accountable.
Well, I think some people would want the private. Like, not everyone wants to know that they were, like, raped or something.
I mean, no, but the whole case as it's being brought forward, I mean, it's a blanket thing. It's not like, I have no idea. I'm not even going to weigh in on whatever's happening, but the majority of people that I've seen are saying that it's a tragedy, that it's going to be sealed for 30 years. And it means that, like, people aren't going to be held accountable, and they're trying to bury it again, and they've made it difficult for any of these victims or survivors to receive any sort of, I don't know, compensation? Would that be even the right word?
Well, I didn't get any of that from this 1 minute clip that I watched. So,
No, but I mean, like, the thing is, I haven't even seen the clip either, so this is great. No, but what I mean is once you say Gary Gannon's involved, then, like, you already know he's, like, the biggest rake to the face of politicians. Like, whatever he can do, he'll find some sort of way of bumbling through it and fucking it up. You know what I mean? Like, the complete slam dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all it requires is, like, a steady hand and to be like, shame on you, and here's what's happening. But, like, as you're saying there, it's like, we know what side you're on. It's like, stop trying to gotcha it. Just talk about it like it is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's very brand aware, so he will always try to do something that has him kind of standing on a soapbox,
Yeah. I wish he'd use more memes. I wish he'd be one of those guys who's like, but you all ain't ready to have this conversation,
He probably fucking does and all, probably. He'd be the one to say, yous are not ready to have this conversation.
Yeah. And you'd love,
like, I tried to start.
You'd be like,
oh no, that'd be clapping like a fucking seal, but not like a seal for 30 years.
You'd be like, hold your head up, king. Your crown is slipping. Your beard is slipping.
I'm sorry, Mary Lou, but your beard is slipping.
But it's more like Gary Gannon has a beard.
Yeah, I know, but it's funny, the idea of if your beard is slipping, then it's like your balaclava is slipping, and then just saying that to Mary Lou, like, it appears to me that her beard is slipping.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you talking about? Because Jerry Adams has a beard. I thought this was self-explanatory. What's the point of this? Can we put a bow on that? Like, because I really want it to be clear that I support anything that helps survivors of the abuse to receive justice and recognition by the state.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, though, if you were like, we're on the same page apart from this. And you were like, seal them. Just put it behind us. You know what I mean? Why are they complaining?
We just got to get through. I mean, like, what's the point in figuring it out now?
That's it. We have a recession. We have a pandemic. That's too much to deal with as is.
Yeah. It's like the environment. We just talk about it in those terms, where it's just like, look, have you not seen what's happening? There's a freaking Cheeto in the White House. We have bigger things than the mother and babies homes. Thank you.
But you're all ready to have that conversation.
I love, like, not even talking about your own leaders. It was like, have you not seen what's happening? Roe v. Wade is about to be dismantled, okay?
Yeah.
The Supreme Court is going to be Republican dominated until the day I die.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the mother and babies homes. Oh yeah, I wish I had your problems.
That's it, yeah. I got 3 letters for you. A, B, C. Amy.
Yeah.
Bomi. Carrot.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is. What is it?
Whatever.
Is that James Comey's wife?
No, it's not. No.
That'd be cool, though. That'd be a power couple.
It would be very cool. If the most right-wing judge that they appointed was the fucking... Anyway, James Comey back for more. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing, but I would, like... And I haven't seen the clip, so I really shouldn't be commenting at all. But like I said, if Gary Gannon is involved, I can only assume that it's the cringiest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, Gary Gannon is cringe. Like,
yeah.
As the kids say, he's cringe.
Yeah. But Micheál Martin is like the bagman for the churches, so of course he's going to be taking that position. Do you know what I mean?
The church should be. If I was the papal nuncio, I would say to the church, "You're fired."
You're fired.
You're fired. Have you seen the clip where Trump is like, I can't remember what he does, but he's like, And I would walk up there and I'd say, "You're fired." And then he realizes that's his catchphrase. And he goes, "You're fired!" Just shouts it again. It's cool that there's a president with a catchphrase.
That is actually kind of cool.
Did you hear about I know this is all over the place, but did you hear about the Bolivian elections?
Yeah, great news.
They got rid of that one with the, there was your man, I can't remember his name, with the hair.
Evo Morales.
And then they got rid of him, and then they brought in that woman, and she was like, came in with like the biggest Bible I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
It was like as big as a table.
Yeah.
And she was just like fascist. She was just like, no one's ever heard of me, but I'm here to run the country. And first order is to kill. Like literally it was like, we shouldn't let the lives of the natives and indigenous get in the way of fucking, you know, cutting down the rainforest or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
And they just voted her out.
Well, she said that she was only in there as like until they could safely do an election. So obviously COVID gave them plenty of opportunity to kick the can down the road. And then
the people of Bolivia got to say, "You're fired." But y'all ain't ready to have that conversation.
Yeah. Just imagining them like as a US campaign, you know, to get out the vote. It's like, why don't you tell the Cheeto-in-Chief you're fired? Fire him November 3rd or whatever fucking day the election is.
Yeah, just like some indigenous Bolivian guy.
That somebody in Bolivia.
Like some guy who like, you know, just lives traditionally. And I'm like, so I said, you're fired. I said, is trying to communicate to them what all those words mean. Like, you know?
But they didn't like vote that woman out. There was another candidate, or maybe there was like, was there a third?
And it was
anyway,
like
it doesn't matter.
a Chinese guy ran.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
No.
No, okay. Because
it was like a
I feel like I would know that.
Why would you know that?
I don't know. I guess
you're not up to date on fucking
anything.
Bolivian,
you're not up to date in your own
Chino-Bolivian relations.
Yeah. So he's gone. But I mean, like, it's hard to imagine. Like, it's a good day. Obviously, you just go, yeah, fuck yeah, finally some good thing happened. But then you also have to think, like, what's the response going to be? And I would be worried about, like, if they successfully basically did a military coup to get Evo Morales out of power. I would love to, or not out of power, but, well, out of power, yeah, for sure. But also to a point where he had to leave the country for his own safety.
Yeah.
Like, they went to his house and killed his dogs. Like, you know what I mean? You're talking about, like, really ruthless individuals, and they seem to, even though the majority of the population could overwhelmingly vote in favor of another socialist candidate.
Like 50% or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like 60. I think it was literally that high.
Yeah, there was a Chinese guy running.
There was.
I don't know, but Chi Chung.
That's interesting. But
he's Korean.
Oh man! I'd hate to be you right now. Oh my God! Cancel.
He's a Christian.
Yeah. The cancel thing. I really need to stop saying cancelled. I think that's had its day. Cancelled. Making fun of cancel culture.
I think that's now like when people are like, bling, you know. They're like, he's all swagged out in his bling.
Yes. So wait, I guess that's all important. I guess let's talk about level 5 really quickly. You know.
Yes, of Crash Bandicoot 4, which you are
unbelievably hard. It's so fucking hard. Like, I cannot get over it, because not only is it hard. So here's what I thought. Okay, so I was like, I just must be a fucking baby and I can't play this game. So I actually looked up somebody playing this game.
Because with all due respect, you're very bad at computer games.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm not like... It takes me a while to catch up, and once I get the controls, then I'm kind of away. Yeah. But like...
That's probably fair to say. You're like a diesel engine. Once you get up and running, you're going. Efficiently.
Yeah.
But
no, I think like you remember those tests when you had to take when you're a kid and it'd be like which boat is bigger, and if it was going this is the farthest left. Huh?
No, I don't remember that test. Which is bigger?
No, there used to be like cognitive tests that would essentially be about your like spatial awareness and your kind of reasoning and stuff like that. I would do incredibly poorly at all.
Really?
It would literally be because like the questions would sometimes be, this boat is to the east, okay?
Yeah.
This boat is further to the east than boat A, okay?
Yeah.
So if boat C is like to the west of boat A or whatever, then which one is furthest east?
Okay.
Questions like that where they talk about like spatial awareness and shit like this, and just fucking failing it constantly.
Writing on your forehead F is like
big N for neocortex. Actually, that's a deep cut for anybody who plays Crash Bandicoot. So no, anyway, I think that whenever I'm playing games, for about an hour or two, I feel like tearing my hair out because I'm just like, why can't I get this? Why am I so bad at this? And then I get to the rhythm of the game, and then I'm like, okay, I'm kind of I'm able to do this now, and then it becomes kind of muscle memory.
Yeah.
But so with the original Crash Bandicoot games, you just put in Crash Bandicoot 3, I'll have like that game completed in about an hour. I just like committed to memory in my fingertips of just like all the jumps, where to go, how to do it. The controls are just there, you know. But boot up this new game, and I was just like falling down every fucking pit. I was like missing every mark.
That's because you'd memorized Crash Bandicoot 3. You're probably just playing Crash Bandicoot 3, you know?
Well, actually, because the thing is, I saw a guy playing Crash Bandicoot 4 now, and I realised he was falling at the exact same hurdles that I was falling at, and the problems with it are fixed camera that is not very good, and then the shadow being incredibly unreliable, and then the timing is bizarre for these things. Like, usually the timing is fairly predictable, but like it's almost like they've added like an extra frame, because this guy was doing the exact same things that I was doing. He would jump, and every instinct that you have as like somebody who plays like these platformers would be that like, where it's like your platform is there and then it disappears and you have to time your jump so you can land on it. The timing was just like it like, I don't know what it is. Let's say if you have like a beat for like a drum, there's like a beat that follows your heartbeat or something, so it's kind of instinctive to all humans. But imagine like that, except they added an extra second or something to it.
Like
so you're like, okay, jump. Yeah, exactly. So it was very disorienting, and I kept fucking dying. But anyway, the game is great and I really love it, and it was designed so that you are constantly having to pass the control to somebody else.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, they have it, because I was wondering, because they have an online play feature, and I was like, what could that possibly be? Is there going to be two people playing? And it's like, no, it's literally just online. You're playing the game with your friends, and when you die, they pass control of the game over to somebody else.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
We can't play that. Unless your internet could hold it.
Oh, I know. No, it couldn't, unfortunately. I would love if it could, because it would be so good. But you'd be dying literally every second.
Nah,
like, it's so
not me.
Fucking hard.
I'd be.
Yeah, well,
I think I'm a pro gamer. I truly believe that.
Yeah, no, I think give it a whack.
You know those people who are like, I'm an excellent singer, and they have never sung in front of anybody, but they just think, because that's me in gaming. I'm just like, because I win games, I'm like, yeah, I'm a pro gamer, but like, games are designed for you to win them, you know? But because I'm beating bosses and stuff, I'm like, what, like, skill, you know?
Yeah. No, it was, This, why are we even talking about level 5, right?
Okay, level 5 of...
level 5
of...
Ratchet and Clank.
God, we played Ratchet and Clank for like 13 hours.
Yeah. And it's... I looked up... I actually watched... it started off as a bit, where a guy did an hour and a half breakdown of why the Ratchet and Clank 2016 game was shit.
Strong language.
And I was... Yeah, and I was like, ha ha ha, this is very funny. I watched about half of that video, and it's like every single point is like,
Interesting.
I'm like nodding a lot, and it was stuff that, remember I said this that they had changed his character, because it used to be that he would make fun of people for being nerds, and now he is a supposed nerd, you know?
I'm going to be honest, I did not remember your critiques of I wasn't taking notes.
But like, this guy mentions that, but he talks about there were so many bits that I did a time code of, and I copied the link to send to you, and I was like, I need to not do this because he's just going to make fun of me or not want to watch it. But the guy just had it like, he just like fucking, I was so surprised that a game series that in his mind only has two good entries, okay?
Yeah.
He was like, I don't know, it was very good, it was very insightful.
Those are the ones I don't understand, because it's like, we found out what, there were like 12 Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah.
And he likes 2 of them. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Like, why does he follow the franchise? If they're like 2 out of 10, that's really bad. Or 2 out of 12, that's really low hidden, you know?
Yeah. But he isolated, he was like, here's why it's shit, because the jokes are bad. And I was like, well, they're bad in all of them. But he isolated a joke from the second game, okay?
Yeah.
And basically they come across, so you got these kind of like let's just call them fucking dragons or whatever. They're just dragon alien enemies, okay? Yeah. And they're just brute savages. And then he's about to hit one of them with the wrench, and they're like, hey, don't hit me. And he's like, oh shit, I thought you were like one of those guys, do you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm more refined, I'm more intelligent. And they were like, so they were going, I thought you were one of those guys. And he goes, I wish I was one of those guys. I wish that I didn't have to think like I do. And then Clank literally says,
a burden often accompanies self-awareness, sir.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, because we were playing the game and every single joke, like you say, is like, hey, rust bucket. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
all the
like,
jokes are like,
ooh.
So that happened, you know?
Yeah, and I was so surprised to see like these deadpan jokes that were kind of about how like, geez, I wish that I wasn't smart. I wish I was stupid because life would be easier. And them just going like, yeah, I know, man. I feel your pain. It's like such a strange, like they, at some stage they decided that the game, and then also the other thing about it is Ratchet is like, he's like really selfish in the first game, and he's kind of like this, he's just a mechanic who's just like, I want to get off of this dirtball planet. Yeah. Whereas in the other one, he's like, I want to save the galaxy, and he becomes like a space cop.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting. The guy was like, you know, he said that the ads played an important part in the game, because every single time you would see an ad and it would be like about an amazing resort, and then you would go to the resort and discover that it was terrible.
Yeah.
But he's like, in the game 2016 version, you would go to the resort and it would be exactly as the advertisement had said.
Yeah.
Because it was like everything's colorful and fun and you're kind of part of the army or whatever. And it's like, no, the thing about it that was appealing is the Ghostbusters kind of component, where you were just kind of this, you know, working class guy just trying to get by, and you were kind of trapped in a world of consumerism and everything trying to catch your attention, and every single person in the galaxy is looking for money from you, and you have to try and figure out how to give it to them.
Yeah.
And he was like, that component is completely gone now, and they went the era of Star Wars, you know, where there's swelling horn music and everybody is just, you know, everybody's a hero or they're a villain. It's not like everybody's just out for their own end.
Yeah.
He also brought up that in the first game, the Chairman Drek is the main villain, and Chairman Drek is just a CEO, and he's stealing parts of other planets to make a planet of his own, you know? So he's destroying all of these planets so he can just make his own planet. But that it's revealed at the end of the game, he's intentionally polluting all of the planets that he's creating so that there will be constant need for planets.
That's clever.
So, yeah, and so he's like, you know, he's just an evil businessman and a tyrant, whereas in the rest of the games it's like this kind of character called Dr. Nefarious, who already the name is like, you know, he wants to destroy the universe. And it's kind of like, this guy was just pointing out, as in like, there was a really anti-business and consumer sentiment, or consumerist sentiment, I should say, rather than anti-consumer.
Well,
Just as
consumerism
kind of like,
is anti-consumer, you know. I would say.
yeah. Yeah.
This is like, you ever listen, you know, Slavoj Žižek? And he's-
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I guess that
You
is
think
all
about
there.
the joker.
Like, you're not pulling
Yeah.
this out of your ass, you know what I mean? It is in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, like, he's very good. And the guy's like at the start, and he's literally prefacing every video like, why the fuck am I making these? He's like really like, why do I like these games? Why do I think so much about them?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, anyway, now to get into my 1.5-hour breakdown of why Ratchet and Clank 3, while still good, is where the franchise starts to dip in quality. Like, amazing.
Yeah.
I was just really blown away by this guy. I'm actually gonna give him a shout out to his actual YouTube name.
What is
because
it?
he deserves it. I think it's called, unfortunately, I'm low to the Gaming Brit Show.
The what? Gaming rig.
Gaming Brit Show.
Well,
Yeah.
shout out to the king.
Shout out to the Gaming Brit.
So now
So
we're actually talking
Brits never not at it,
Yeah.
aka analyzing Ratchet and Clank.
about but level 5.
Level 5. We all knew it was coming. I don't know, there's not much more to say. We also kind of commented before on Leo's sorry not sorry attitude.
Yeah. And then they were
like,
I was convinced
yeah.
that they were gonna bring in like level 4 plus, you know, or like level
Yeah.
just anything.
Oh, same, yeah.
But no, they did the honourable thing and they brought in level 5 minus, I think is what officially we're at.
They didn't do it in an honourable way. What they did is they did level 5, but then they just continued on as if like, well, there was no way to predict this.
Yeah,
There's nothing we could
yeah.
have done. So anyway, level 5, and it's just like the eviction ban back on for the next 6
Yeah.
weeks, and then after that you're on your fucking
I don't
own.
know why they think
pandemic
a short
unemployment-
term. Like, what the hell do they think is going to change in 6 weeks?
I
It's
know.
like if the lockdown ends in 6
yeah.
weeks, I can imagine them thinking like, "Oh, when the lockdown's over, people will go back to work and have
Yeah.
more money." Like, I don't believe that
Yeah.
to be true, but I can imagine that logic. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that at the end of 6 weeks, you're going to have a load of money. Like,
Yeah.
where do they think this money's going to come out of?
Yeah, I mean, like,
The freaking
This is the
money
problem.
tree.
no, what happens, okay, is that what you have is, we've commented on it before, the idea of a government pulling itself apart at the seams, every single person acting in an individual capacity.
Yeah.
Fianna Fáil doing traditional Fianna Fáil kind of plunder and bullshit. Fine Gael being kind of under new management, really, which is like they are literally guided by one man's wounded ego, do you know?
Yeah.
Because Fine Gael have like, I don't know who did it, but it was some Fine Gael TD literally put out a tweet just being like, well, it looks like NEFIT is leaking again. We need to think about how we dismantle them as an organization because they've become so political. Replies turned off. Thank you very much. You're just
Yeah.
like,
Don't
all
at
right,
me,
well,
I
he's
will
been
not
given
be
his marching
responding to this
orders,
comment,
yeah. And then they go, and you were wrong. We dilly-dallied for 2 weeks, and now we're in the level 5. So do you have anything to say to Tony Houlihan? No, I don't. Of course I don't. Why would I? I think I'm as frustrated as anybody. Level 3 was worth trying, and then we go to level 5, and it's like, no, you have a fucking NEFIT for a reason. So you listen to their advice or you don't. And if you don't listen to their advice and it backfires, then you take responsibility for that. But of course they
But
don't.
did you see that
know?
other video that Fine Gael put out? I think it was from the Fine Gael account, and they were just like, this guy being like, airports are still open, people aren't being checked
Yeah.
at the border.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
you're in power. Fine
Yeah,
Gael
yeah.
were like attacking government policy as if it wasn't their own. Well,
Yeah.
at the same,
Well, they were
but
like-
at the same time, like the two most visible people are what Minister for fucking Enterprise Portfolio and
Yeah, yeah.
Simon Harris, who's Minister for Further Education.
Also, like two things that happened. One, on Sunday night, Leo Varadkar left the government offices. Well, he left Leinster House at like 6 or 7 o'clock, and the rest of the cabinet stayed on to discuss the new measures and potential lockdown, whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were speculating, was he told to leave? Did he leave in a huff? It doesn't really matter. The point is like he's shown nothing but obstinance to the health advice, and he believes that it's political.
But the thing is, like, he
aimed
like,
at him.
He's such a specific role. Like, why? It's just what. Like, he's leaving early because he's not Minister for Health. You know what I mean? He's not at the forefront of this, but he still is for some reason. But he's also attacking government policy as if he isn't.
Well, it's because he's the Taoiseach there. Like, he kind of has to be in it anyway, because he's one of the people that's, leading this coalition.
Then why is his party attacking government policy?
That's it. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But the other thing is, Simon Harris during the week coming out with his fucking post about, we need to be in this together, stronger than ever, and I'm still the health minister. Even though, like, he basically is acting like the health minister, even though he's not, obviously.
Yeah.
And then he also said, like, he posted a clip of Jacinda Ardern saying, like, it's great that she won, and we need, like, a less divisive, corrosive politics. And I was like, motherfucker, you're in Fine Gael, like, and a strain of Fine Gael that is so, like, so toxic. Like, their whole thing is like Sinn Féin, not a normal party, doing all these fucking memes talking about how awful all these people are. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like they're the head. He is one of the key figures in the most toxic version of Fine Gael.
That's it. And they're part of this global, like, in England you had that group in Labour who were basically Tories, and they were trying to undercut any actually progressive legislation, or like, Corbyn's whole campaign. And Varadkar is part of that similar, like, Tory-like group in Fine Gael who's just trying to undercut everything, and like, he doesn't get on board with everything. He just tries to, like, undercut it at every turn. He's toxic is the word, know?
Well, I think it's for either his own survival or for his own ego. Do you know what I mean? But he just kind of, it's whatever it is. It seems to be pretty infectious.
I like, ego comes into it, but like, the way there were those, like, we've all read the WhatsApp group leaks from Labour.
Those
and they were
good,
just like, I can't believe this guy's winning. He's so evil. He's so terrible. Like, I think when
one of the insults, by the way, is they referred to somebody as pube head, some councillor,
and they like were happy that people were laughing at Diane Abbott, who was like the most harassed person in English politics, basically.
No, she was crying in the toilets after a campaign of harassment that had taken place all day, and he was talking about guiding a journalist in the direction of that bathroom to try and get her, ambush her.
But I think that, like, there's a similar group in Fine Gael who, when they see things like the PUP going out and staying up, or the rent freeze, they're reacting in horror, and they're just like, how is this happening?
But the other thing about the PUP, by the way, is that it hasn't, it's tiered now.
Yes,
so depending on what you're earning, you're going to be earning less on the pandemic unemployment payment.
What is it, 250, 3 something?
Well, it's 350 for, the Fine Gael voting base, and then for anybody underneath that, it goes in a staggered. It's like, it can be as low as 105.
Really?
Believe. No, not really. This is me from the future again to correct myself, so I should not say things out loud that I don't know anything about. I mean, otherwise the podcast wouldn't exist if I actually did that. But anyway, here are the tiers for the PUP payment scheme. There are 4, as of updated 4 days ago, apparently. 203 is the lowest, 250, 300, and then finally 350. Okay. Yeah, like, it's quite ludicrous. It's kind of like, well, you got by on less money before, so you can do it again. And it's
like if you're,
where's that logic coming from? I just don't understand.
I don't know if it's still the way, but if you're under 25 or 23, you get a reduced dole, don't you?
Yeah.
You get like 120, and then if you're under 20, you get 100. So
yeah,
it's all right. Like, someone, I think it was one of the guys out of Mary Walliper, said that the PUP is 350 because Fine Gael know a human being can't live on 200.
Yeah. I think it's often said about like conservatives, you know, that the cruelty is the point, you know, and I'm not sure this is like, because, you know, the cruelty is the point, isn't it? It's meant to be kind of abject and miserating, and they're just trying to make you downbeat and kind of whatever. I don't know what point I'm trying to make. The only thing is that there's what I'm seeing with this type of, like, I don't know, what I call it penny pinching, or just this kind of attitude towards people, is a genuine contempt. Do you know what I mean? Just a kind of like, it's not even to be cruel for cruelty's sake. It's actually like, I don't know. It's just,
I never buy the line of like the cruelty is the point, because it oversimplifies it, because it's sort of then implying that these people know they're being cruel, and
yes,
like,
exactly.
Things just are never that straightforward. And that's not me giving them the benefit of the doubt. I just think that, like, with Thatcher, there came in this like idea that there should be small government. But people were so blind to, like, the ruling people were so blind to their own biases that they see, like, they see anything that's good for companies as not being government, and anything that's good for the people as being government, you know?
Yeah.
So, bailing out companies, that's not government intervention.
Yeah.
But bailing out people is.
Yeah.
And I think that's their bias. That's the reasoning. So they hate things like PUP because they're thinking like these are just people scrounging, or like this is bad for the people.
Yeah.
And then they like to keep businesses open. Like, even if you look at how, wasn't it like 500,000 goes into the arts, into like the music, but it's all like into the music industry. It's all into venues and stuff like that. So the individual artists aren't getting it. They're expected to get trickle down benefit.
Yeah.
So they're thinking like, it's just that exact same thing. It's like, it's intervening with companies isn't government. It's just helping the market. But helping the people is, you know, unjust government interference.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, the thing about it, I also wanted to bring up was the budget. I mean, I'm not going to go into it because I don't know anything about the fucking budget, but, you know, what you can kind of get, like, listen, I'm not going to go into details because I don't know line by line what it is, but the general consensus seems to be it's lacking in any sort of creativity or imagination, which has kind of been what Pascal O'Donoghue's thing has been forever. It used to be like, you know, you'd have these people who would, in Fianna Fáil, who would concoct a budget and have some sort of creative thing people would get hung up on for weeks. They'd be talking about, like, you know, oh, now we're paying, you know, however much on cigarettes unless you... I don't know. There'd be some sort of creative bullshit that people would be talking about, but ultimately that the, you know, things would stay relatively the same. And then Pascal is not creative at all. He just kind of keeps the thing ticking over. And now in this era, he kind of is largely ignored. Nobody really talks about him at all. It's all focused on Leo or Simon, and then now it's like we're talking about him when the budget comes out, but like when it came out, it was like, I don't know what I kind of expected. Just this fucking boring document which is completely out of touch with everything and is only trying to keep things on autopilot, and, you know, there's none of the creativity that is required to, you know...
it's like a huge amount of money, but it's just beefing up what was already there. Like, if you want to... The ultimate example is that student nurses still aren't getting paid. It's like, if you're beefing up the budget, pay student nurses who are working as nurses. But that wouldn't fucking occur to them, you know? And that would require a lot of it is a very slight amount of imagination, you know?
Some of it is like, can we get away with this? And then the answer is yes, is because nobody asks any of the probing fucking questions about the budget. And like, as it was quoted on Reboot Republic with... Rory Ahern said it. He said, like, one of the things that frustrates me watching Primetime is that when they talk about the budget, they only ever compare it to previous Irish budgets as opposed to budgets that would be in neighbouring countries and other stuff that other people are doing. And at this moment, it's like we've had this pandemic which has just like affected everywhere. So everybody is having a response to it. And you can see good responses, bad responses, and we can be taking little bits and pieces, but they're still acting within this very narrow paradigm, or at least Pascal is anyway, when it comes to pulling together money. It's like it's almost like any other normal budget.
I know.
And it's like, this was the time where it's like we needed something fucking transformative.
And that's like, they're just not looking at the root cause. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it is a bit more abstract, but like, there's no budget like America or in England or here that's seriously tackling climate change, right?
Yeah.
And they know that this was caused by climate change, or at least situations like this are caused by climate change, because, you know, this is, what do they call this? Is, you know, the way this came from like a bat, the way I had a bat, basically.
Yeah.
And it was like a cross-species disease.
Right.
And it's probably caused the biggest recession ever. And they know, I don't know exactly how they know, but they know that in the future there would be further coronavirus outbreaks of different strains because of things like migratory patterns being disrupted, or like, you know, a lot of bats fleeing one area having to like live in crowded conditions with other animals. Like, they know that there are more things coming, but there's no interest in addressing that cause. It's just like, oh, how do we get back to normal?
Well, it's kind of like just doing your homework and then handing it in and having the teacher stick it up on the wall. Like, very good, your joined writing is very good this time. Like, I mean,
it reminds me of like some, you know, when you work in the arts and there are some people who still have the leaving cert mentality, and they're like, oh, we'll just put in the minimum work, and, you know, to play, we'll just, how long does it have to be, 20 pages or whatever? And they're just like doing it to get it done. And then it's like, there's no upper limit here. Like, there's no, if you don't put in the work, it's not going to be good, and people won't like it, and they won't accept, oh, I didn't have time as an excuse, you know? The work has to speak for itself. Of it. So like,
there's two things. Yeah, sorry.
If they're not tackling climate change, if they're not tackling how to prevent these diseases, like, no one's gonna go, oh, that is, sure, it was hard, you're busy, or like, sure, how are you to know that you needed to do it? It's, no one's gonna accept excuses, because people are already talking about the next pandemic, or the next, how to stop it, and there's no talk about that from the government or from any Western government.
Yeah, so there is that thing about just doing the bare minimum, but the other thing about it is a very single-minded approach to something. Instead of multitasking and realizing that by doing one thing you could actually be helping another, it's like, okay, so we put the money here, and it's always, they can think about stimulating the market and stimulating housing stock by, you know, private, whatever fucking shit, but they can never think about, like, you know, oh, I don't know. I mean, it sounds stupid to say, but just like, let's say you invest in the arts, and then all of a sudden you have an amazing movie or amazing TV show that comes out of here, and then people want to come to Ireland, and you stimulate that way. Or, you know, you have all these people who are cutting turf, and, you know, now you have them, you know, maybe dismantling this. What am I? I'm really talking outside of my pay grade, but I'm essentially saying is that there's overlap with all of these things. And there are creative ways of influencing stuff, but they just literally see it as like, you know,
they see
things are worthy of money and things aren't worthy of money, and then they invest in the things that are worthy of money, and the things that aren't worthy of money get fucking shafted. And there's never a thought, well, maybe those other things could stimulate growth in other areas, do you know?
Yeah. It, like you said,
at least
earlier,
as far as I'm concerned.
See it as just another budget.
Yeah. And then the other part about it is to avoid fucking blame. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess what I brought up the budget because it's symptomatic of Fine Gael as a whole, which is just that they're thoroughly, and this government, you know, which is that they're thoroughly unimaginative, and they're just trying to ride this out, and, you know, I don't know. Well, I'm sorry, I'm very just zoned out at the moment. I'm kind of just like reached my limit with it. It's almost like there's no new angle to take on it. You feel like, you know, you have to have a take, but my take is just the generic take, which is that it's too little, too late, and also their attitude is really shitty.
Yeah.
And they're advocating for community while not being community minded themselves. And
like it just goes back. This is all the things. Like there's that. I mean, everyone knows it's the campaign. I'm gonna have to go in a minute, but there's the campaign where it's like, oh, if you're suffering from mental health issues, don't be afraid to reach out and talk about it. It's almost like, if you're having a hard time with coronavirus, don't be afraid to tell us about it. It's like, will you do anything?
Yeah.
I don't see how that'll be relevant, you know?
Yeah.
But y'all ain't ready to have that conversation.
Yeah, you're all not ready to have.
No.
Just so low energy, and it just really faded out. But like, no, I think it's just symptomatic of the whole thing. It's just fucking. Can I just say one thing really quickly before we go? I tuned in. I just walked in. My parents were watching Claire Byrne live, and there was a guy there, and he was saying, "What we really need to do is borrow now, as everybody is saying, because interest rates are incredibly low. Take that and invest that back into health infrastructure, because we missed the opportunity to do so. We don't have a track and trace system. We don't have an ICU that can handle the influx of people. We need to get creative, and we need to use this opportunity now to borrow money and invest." And then Claire Byrne said, "Well, we're not going to have a new health service in 6 weeks, so." And he was just like gobsmacked. He was like, "Well, this is the thing.
It's like, what, 6 weeks?
It's just like
exactly.
Like, it's like, why? So just give up? Is that your thing? It's like, these are things that they believe are like, well, I think the thing that bugs me is it reminds me of the housing crisis and that famous podcast that it's not really famous, I've only referred to it once, but I think about it often, where they had the Frederick Street squatters or whatever it was. They appeared on the Take Back the City movement. They appeared on the Irish Times podcast Inside Politics, and Pat Leahy was basically saying, well, it's all well and good to say like, oh, the government needs to build houses, but actually houses take a very long time to build, so it's like we can't have them straight away. And they're about to move on, and the guy's like, can I just like stop you there, because if they had started building them in 2014, then we'd have them now, but they don't do it. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's the Irish Times. That's Pat Leahy, the politics editor in the Irish Times. Then you have Claire Byrne, who was Sarah McInerney was passed over to give this fucking slot to. And not this one, Claire Byrne Live. That's her TV show. She has that. But like the thing is, these are the people who are disseminating the information, asking the questions, and supposed to be breaking it down. And it's just so incredibly frustrating that like they've kind of just accepted that politics and everything that is happening is just this endless treadmill of people trying to avoid responsibility and obviously just taking money for themselves, and there's never enough for people, but there is enough for these people to line their own pockets. And it's just like, it's just very frustrating. It's like, it feels now where we have COVID, and it's just, we're going to keep repeating this pattern again and again and again, because we can't go to the polls because it would be too dangerous, but we can keep the schools open because we have to, it's essential, and then we have to close all the businesses, but the airports stay open, and it's just like this fucking mess that's so demoralizing. So yeah, we didn't get to talk about two things we wanted to talk about, but I suppose just save them for the next one. What's to be said is just, I'm really fucking tired to be back here again, and we're let down by everybody. But I'd highly recommend, by the way, everybody to and maybe I shouldn't be promoting a podcast that's not ours, but I've really been enjoying the Reboot Republic podcast and all the Tortoise Shack podcasts, and they're literally the only people who are doing like line by line breakdowns of the budget with broad panels and talking about shit that's going on, so, but also patreon.com/Celtic Ligers. Consider throwing us a bit of money, or because we have a
cancel your Tortoise House subscription, and give it straight to us, the boys.
So we have the Brexit. We review the Brexit movie. That was a good episode. We have the V for Vendetta review, which is also very good. It's probably one of the best things we've ever recorded. And loads of other goodies. And also
the Patreon's like somewhere where we do like deep dives into stuff. We're going to be doing a couple of maybe multi-episode projects on things like David McWilliams or the history of RTE.
I'm really looking forward to doing a deep dive on David McWilliams.
I think if you like what we do and you want slightly more in-depth version of it,
yes,
I think you will like me.
Yes, and please like me. That's what that's all I ask.
Please like me.
So really quickly as well, if you enjoy the podcast, tell a friend. But also go on to iTunes and leave a review. It helps the algorithm and pushes us up the charts a little bit.
That's the worst part. It's like, you think that because we want it for like our own, ego, but the algorithms work because if you review it, more people will see it and they will get to listen to it. And then
we can increase the coverage, and then we can become pundits for the Irish Independent or Irish Examiner. I want to write an article for The Guardian, like, I don't know, one of the, Michael Fry, has he written an article for The Guardian or something? All these people, these influencers, these political minds of our time who talk about spice bags, and also how Micheál Martin is just so bloody basic, I want that money, so please help me get that money.
I'm going to have to go.
All right, I have to go as well. But thank you to our patrons. I'll record that separately when you've headed off, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Catch us on CelticLigers.com. Okay, bye.
Bye.
So as threatened, here is a thank you to our patrons. And just to let the Rob Gales of the world out there know, if you don't like us thanking our patrons, then please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Celtic Ligers, so that we have too many patrons to thank and this can end. But until then, we really, really, really want to thank our beloved patrons, and that's a shout out to Conor Barry, Liam McCartan, Claire O'Neill, Niall McGillicool, Ronan Carey, Niamh Kelly, Paulie Doyle, and the head of Antifa, Joe Joyce. So yeah, thank you very much. Without you, we would have gotten disheartened a long time ago and decided to stop making this podcast, as we did with our previous venture, Cyberpod, which can still be found on SoundCloud if you ever are incredibly desperate for content, and not that much of it because I stopped paying the hosting fees for it. If anybody wants to hear some of those, I can stick them up on the Patreon. Another reason to join. Okay, talk to you next week.